There are protests in South Africa almost on a daily basis.
After serving nearly 30 years for the 1993 student protests closed Johannesburg's University of Witwatersrand.
Several protests supporting Palestinians have been held in the South African cities of Johannesburg and Cape Town.
20,000 people outside this prison in Pretoria are trying to prevent the release of a man they consider an apartheid criminal.
In different rural areas, townships, cities, every day there is a group of people protesting in South Africa. They block the roads, they burn tires, cars need to make U-turns and turn around. Only about 5% of the protests in South Africa are actually reported by the media. The rest fall on deaf ears. The rest, many politicians try to suppress and keep under the radar. The only reason why you're not seeing mass uprisings that you see in other countries is because of apartheid special planning. South Africa was created to ensure that the people that are disgruntled today are never able to come into the towns and cities to raise their concerns. If you look at many of the townships, they are all scattered out in different areas to ensure that they find it a bit difficult to be able to get to the cities. I mean, think about it. If you are in Gauteng and you are in the Vaal area, some are in Sebokeng, some are in Soweto, and they want to protest together to go to the union buildings, they'd have to travel using different transporting systems to get them there. But in other cities where you find that they are densely populated in the same areas, it's easier to see the protests because when they stand up and they protest, they all do it as one voice. But in South Africa, they all happen in isolation. However, it's not that they are not happening.
In South Africa, at least a dozen people were killed today when riot police fired on striking miners. It happened near a platinum mine in the northern part of the country where the union miners are demanding better pay. Witnesses say some of the strikers carrying sticks and machetes approached the heavily armed police. It's not clear what provoked the violence, but the strikers charged and the police opened fire with automatic weapons. By the time the shooting stopped, the ground was littered with dead and wounded. A reporter for a South African news agency says he counted 18 bodies.
Some protest action shutting down major roads in the CBDs. Thousands of eThekwini workers from solid waste, water, electricity units want their salaries packages to match that of other workers in other metropolitan municipalities. Metro Police have had their hands full trying to mend the roads and clear garbage strewn across major routes. Some claims there are anomalies in the pay scales and performance bonuses in comparison to other metros. Disgruntled workers stage a sit-in outside the City Hall demanding authorities to listen to their grievances. Poor working conditions, another concern.
An inconsistency in terms of the constitution if other municipalities will earn more than this metropolitan municipality. And worst of all, colleagues, you might find that districts and local are earning far better than eThekwini municipality.
In Verulam town, motorists and local residents say the protest action has had a negative impact on them.
This is utterly disgraceful. There's a way to do it. You do it peacefully and get everything in order.
Yeah, they are failing. Big time, yes, they are failing. They're failing all of us. We're running short of water. We don't have electricity. Electricity, not even load shedding now. Electricity can go now and come back in 2 hours, and after that it's going for 4 hours.
Hawkers say their businesses along the affected routes were severely impacted.
If it wasn't for the protest, I would have made like 1,000 rand now, or 800 rand now. But because of the protest affected us, I know I even touched 600 rand or 500 rand.
In a statement, eThekwini municipality said the workers embarked on an unauthorized and unlawful protest action, and as a result, the no work no pay principle will be applied.
These protests are people that are upset about the water. These protests are people that are angry about the load shedding. Angry that when the electricity was supposed to come back, it did not return. Angry without water. Angry that services they were promised, services they pay for, are not delivered. Angry that politicians are stealing from them. Angry that they keep getting lied to by politicians. They go to extremes where they burn tires, where they close down roads. Not because they haven't been to report the situation in the municipality. Not because they didn't first start by writing letters. Not because they didn't first start by communicating this. They do this because their concerns fall on deaf ears. What this tells us, or where we've seen this happen before, is in uprisings and revolutions where countries came to a standstill because people were just not happy about the government. In this country, it would have already happened almost every other day. It doesn't happen because the protests happen in isolation. That does not mean that people are not upset and frustrated by this government.
Certainly in Pretoria, we've seen a lot of places have stayed shut today. The other issue they're marching for is about the economy and the high cost of living and the electricity crisis. Some areas in this country can go for up to 10 hours a day without power, and people are frustrated. The government says they're doing everything they can to try and resolve the issue in South Africa, including a newly appointed electricity minister. But people are saying, what good is this person going to do, given that it's taken many, many years for the country to fix this electricity crisis?
What we are going to see in 2024 is unprecedented. We are going to see people go to the polls and pour out their anger that has been isolated in the smaller, different communities and see change in South Africa. We need to prepare for this change and be ready to see that the change happens. When people go to the voting polls, it's important that every individual in our country participates in the political system. It's no secret that the ANC is going to try and rig the elections in 2024. And that's why it's important that every voting station must be watched by each and every political party. All votes must be watched and things must be reported urgently. We must be on high alert for this upcoming election. We must ensure that all systems make sense. When vehicles are moving with ballot papers, we need to make sure that they are secured. When voting stations open and close, we need to make sure that the voting ballot papers leave on time. We need to check every single detail of the upcoming elections, meticulously so, to ensure that the voice of the people and the frustrations of the people are not rigged. Already we're hearing rumors that the IEC wants to print ballot papers outside of South Africa because they're saying that South African companies don't have the experience of printing this type of ballot paper that they want to introduce. Already we're hearing things that are not sounding normal. We must be on high alert in the next election. We must ensure that each voting station is well guarded. We must ensure that every individual's vote goes out and votes and their vote is well protected. We must ensure that these frustrations that South Africans experience on a daily basis, where they go out and protest because they're heavily frustrated, are not going to fall on deaf ears. We must ensure a free and fair elections. And we, the people, the citizens of the country, we can ensure that by participating in the political system. We can ensure that by making sure that every single political party is held responsible. We can ensure that by making sure that our democracy is protected. The theme of this year for the IEC is your democracy. Own it. How do we own our democracy? We own it by registering to vote. We own it by holding political parties accountable. We own it by participating.